Hi and welcome to Divana Lee Design Studio. My name's Nicole Reed and today we're working on this gorgeous block called Saw Tooth, and it is block 3 in a 12-part series. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started on block 3. The first thing that you need to do, if you haven't already done so, is head over to our website and download our cutting instructions that are there for you. There is a file with a link that you just click on and it'll open up in a Drive document and you'll be able to print it straight from there. Alternatively, you can just open it up on your iPad like I've done here today, and you can actually just work from that and save a little bit of paper. Okay, so the cuts that you're going to need: cut A, you're going to need 4 of your pink triangles, and you're also going to need 4 white triangles. Now on the cutting instructions it says to cut a 4 7/8 square and then you cross cut that to get your triangles. So only cut 2 squares for that because you yield 2 triangles from each square. Now for cut B we need 20 triangles, and they are marked as a 2 7/8 square cut on the diagonal again, so you only actually need to cut 10 squares. And then for cut C we just need squares, so we just cut our 3 3/8 squares. You're also going to need a rotary cutter, and you're also going to need a ruler, and that's what we're going to need today, apart from your sewing machine and matching threads and an iron and ironing board. So we're going to get started on this block. It's called Saw Tooth, if I didn't mention that already. So I'm just going to move all this out of the way and we're going to start working on our half square triangles, which is this one here in the corner. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so we're ready to start sewing now, and we need to grab a pink triangle and some background fabric, and we're going to lay them right sides together, and what we're creating are our half square triangles. So you want to make sure that everything is lining up okay. If you need to, grab a couple of pins and put them in. I'm not going to worry about that with these ones. I can control them okay. But if you've not done this before, I suggest that you do use pins. It makes things go a little bit more smoothly. And then basically what I'm going to do is I've got my leader cloth in here, and I've checked that my machine is stitching okay and that my stitch length is okay. I'm on about a 2 for my stitch length, because again we're going to press our seams open. I've got my scant 1/4 inch seam allowance set up, so I'm right to go for that, and we're just going to start sewing. So at this point I just keep sewing onto my leader cloth, and then I just feed just a little bit slowly. Sometimes you might have to lift up the presser foot, and I just feed that in, and I'm going to chain piece all of my half square triangles. Now when you are piecing, be aware that you do not want to stretch. See how there's a lot of stretch in that fabric there? When working with triangles you don't want to do that because it can actually warp your half square triangles. So I just run my fabric along the edge and I keep going, and then I repeat that with my remainder of my half square triangles, and you're going to make 4 in total, and then we'll move on to the next piece. Okay, so now we've finished our half square triangles, so we're going to pull them out of the machine and set them aside, and we will press them a little bit later, and we're going to press the seams open. So set them aside and let's move on to the next step. Okay, so our next step is to take our cut C, which is our squares, and we're going to take 4 of our triangles from cut B. Okay, so we need 4 of those and a square. Now what you're going to do is you're actually going to fold your square in half and you're going to crease it. You're also going to do the same with one of your triangles. And you're just going to find that center on the straight edge, on the longer straight edge. Then what you're going to do is you're going to place them right sides together and match those creases up. Okay, and you can see here, I'll just flip that over for you, but you can see here that there is about a 1/4 inch on either side. Okay, and you just want to make sure that you found the center of each one. So that's a little bit off, so I just want to bring that over, and what you need to do is then just place a pin in that section just there. Okay, so you just want to place a pin in that section. So you've made your center marks and then place the pin in there. Okay, and you can see that there is about 1/4 inch on either side. You also want to make sure that you are lined up against your raw edges. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to line it up on your scant 1/4 inch, and then you're just going to start sewing. And leave that one in there, and then grab another one. Do the same thing again, another square and another triangle, finding the center, finger crease it, place those 2 creases together, aligning your raw edges, aligning on your scant 1/4 inch, and go again. And then you repeat that with the rest of the remainder of your squares, and there's 5 in total. Okay, so what you want to do is at this point you just want to finger press this open. Okay, and you want to repeat that with the rest of them. You've got 5 of these units in total now. So now what you want to do is repeat on the opposite side. You want to do the same thing. So you get your square, put a crease, grab a triangle, put a crease, and this just helps you to find the center of your triangle and square so you can align them, and then the triangles will be on there evenly. Grab your pin, and then again sew, and repeat that with the rest of them. Okay, so I've just went ahead and did all that off camera, added all the triangles to the opposite side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew. So we're just going to quickly chain piece these through, and then we'll put the rest of the squares on, the triangles onto the square. Okay, so now we have 5 units that look like this. So at this point I would go to your ironing board and I would press all these out, and that way, and then we're going to add the next triangles on. Okay, so I was off camera and I've done the rest of them, and now I can just sew these through. So basically you're going to do exactly what you've done with the other sides, except now we're doing it the opposite way. Okay, so you can see there, now we have 5 units that look like this. Okay, so you're going to head over to the ironing board and you're going to give that a press. You can see that you've got 1/4 inch all the way around. If you are not getting 1/4 inch all the way around your blocks, check your scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. There's a little eye up in the right hand corner. Click on that and it will take you to how to set up for a scant 1/4 inch video. And you will be pleasantly surprised how well your blocks will go together. So I'm going to head over to the ironing board and give these a press, and then we're going to get stuck into the final assembly of our block. Okay, so now we're up to final assembly. So what I generally do at this point is I lay out the block and how it should look in the picture. I did take off all my dog ears off most of my pieces, so you can see here I've got a couple that still have them on there. I've obviously missed some, but I took off my center pieces. I actually did take off all the dog ears because they just weren't sitting properly for me. So I gave them a really good press. Trimmed off the dog ears, and now we're up to final assembly. So we're just working with a basic 9 patch today. We've got 9 pieces, and that is what our block is going to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew row 1, then row 2 together, and then row 3, and then we'll add row 1 to row 2, and then row 3 to that one. And we're going to head over to the sewing machine and complete our block. So grab your mini design board that you've got, your temporary design board. If you haven't made one, I will link it up in the little icon up in the corner there, little eye, and it will take you to the video for that. So put it all onto your little mini design board, and then that way you can just carry it over to the sewing machine without losing where your spot is. Okay, so we're back at the machine and we're going to start sewing our rows together. So you start with row 1, as I said to you, and you just flip them over onto one another, just like so. Just pop it over, lining all your pieces up, and then sewing your scant seam allowance. And it's really important that you focus on that scant. So it looks like this. Okay, so you can see there I haven't lost my point off my diamond, and I've got enough room up here to sew in a sashing, so we're good to go. So we'll grab our other half square triangle from our top row, and again with our scant 1/4 inch, and there we go, we have our first row. Okay, so now we continue sewing our rows together. We're on to row 2. Now this one here, what you want to do when you're lining it up, you want to make sure, so you can see in there that we've got our points, and we want to make sure that they're meeting up. Okay, so you might want to add a pin in here and straighten it up and make sure that it's all aligning properly for you. Okay, so I'm going to stick a pin in there so it doesn't move on me. And then again, I'm going to use my scant 1/4 inch. Just take it nice and slow. And then grab our other one. Okay, so now we're on to our last piece of our center row. There we go, we have our center row, and you can see there that I've lost no points. It just needs a really good press before we can put it all together. And now we'll sew our last row together. So again, you're back to doing the half square triangles, and you're doing them to the opposite of what you've got up the top. There we go, that is our bottom row. Okay, so now what we're up to is putting the block together. So we're going to take row 1 and add that to row 2. You want to give it a good press and press all your seams open and everything at this point. Take it to the ironing board, give it a good going over. Okay, so you're going to need some pins, and we're now going to assemble our block together. So you're going to take your center row, and then you're going to take your top row, and you're going to place them right sides together, and you're going to pin the seams. So you're going to nest them up, grab a pin, pop that in there. I would probably grab another pin for this one over in this corner. Also pin in the center, and making sure that they are aligning up your points there, because you want them to. Now remembering that when we're working with triangles, sometimes we get a little bit of excess fabric in our piecing. So my suggestion is wherever that excess fabric is, so you can see here I've got a little bit of excess just here, I'm going to put this side down on my feed dogs, and the feed dogs will actually pick that up. And one last pin, lining all your raw edges up, and then we sew that, and we repeat that for the bottom row as well after we've sewn it. So again, using your scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure I'm keeping my scant 1/4 inch. And if all has gone well, we've got our points and our seams are lining up, which they are, and now I can add my next one on, which is the last one. Okay, so we're all finished, and now all we've got to do is trim off all our threads and everything. As you can see, I've given it a good press and I've trimmed off all my threads, so now I can sit this aside with my other two blocks. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our little tutorial today, making the Saw Tooth block. It's a gorgeous little block, and you could just imagine a whole quilt made with this. It would look absolutely lovely. It's a nice, easy, quick one to go together, and I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up down below, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon beside it, and that way you won't miss out on any future posts. And as always, we love to hear from you, so please leave us a comment and tell us what you thought. Also, if you like to share your work that you have been working on with this series, we have a Facebook group which is linked up down below. Click that link and it'll take you on over, and we can add you to the group. There's a lovely community building there, and we'd love to have you there. Have a great day, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Happy quilting. I'm Nicole Reid for Divana Lee Design Studio, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.